The first sound was not the shouting, not the humiliation, not even the echo of boots on a cold concrete floor. It was the deep, thunderous beat of helicopter blades cutting through the sky, a sound that seemed to shake the air itself and freeze every heart in that hangar. In that moment, a powerful CEO who had just fired a broken, grease-covered mechanic father stood completely still, his face drained of color, as a Navy helicopter descended and began calling out a name he had buried decades ago. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the idea that no good deed ever truly disappears, then pause for just a moment. Like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to the channel so stories like this continue to reach hearts that need them. The mechanic's name was Daniel Hayes, a man whose life had been reduced to oil-stained hands and quiet endurance. He had arrived at the aerospace maintenance facility before sunrise every day for years, long before executives arrived in polished cars. He fixed what others abandoned, repaired what others declared useless, and kept machines alive with patience learned from hardship. His co-workers knew him as dependable, silent, and endlessly tired. What they did not know was that every bolt he tightened carried the weight of a past he never spoke about, a past wrapped in service, sacrifice, and loss. Daniel was a widower, raising a young daughter alone after his wife passed away from a sudden illness that drained not just their savings but his spirit. Nights were short, mornings painful, and his body carried injuries that never fully healed. Still, he worked without complaint, because missing a day meant missing rent, missing groceries, missing his daughter's quiet smile at dinner. The company he worked for had recently been acquired by a powerful CEO named Richard Cole, a man known for efficiency, cuts, and numbers that mattered more than names. To Richard, workers were lines on a spreadsheet, expenses to be trimmed in the pursuit of profit and shareholder applause. That morning, Daniel's hands shook slightly as he tightened the last panel on a helicopter engine. His daughter had been sick the night before, and he had slept barely 2 hours. A minor error followed, nothing catastrophic, nothing dangerous, but enough for management to notice. Richard Cole happened to be touring the facility that day, surrounded by assistants and managers eager to impress him. When the report reached his hands, he decided to make an example. Daniel was called forward in front of supervisors and co-workers. His years of loyalty were reduced to a single mistake. His exhaustion was labeled incompetence. His explanation, given softly and with humility, was dismissed as excuse. Richard's expression was cold, unmoved, his voice sharp as he finalized the decision to terminate Daniel on the spot. Security was instructed to escort him out. No consideration was given to the man's family, his history, or the sacrifices etched invisibly into his posture and eyes. As Daniel walked toward the exit, carrying a small box of personal items, something inside him broke quietly. It was not anger, but a deep, heavy resignation. He had known life to be unfair, but it still hurt to be discarded like a faulty part. He paused once near the open hangar doors, looking back at the machines he had cared for, then stepped forward into the daylight, unsure how he would tell his daughter that night. That was when the sky changed. A distant rumble grew rapidly louder, vibrating through the concrete and metal walls. Heads turned upward as a Navy helicopter appeared on the horizon, flying low and fast, unmistakable in its markings. Papers scattered, alarms paused, conversations died. The helicopter hovered directly over the facility, wind blasting dust and debris into the air, forcing everyone to shield their faces. This was not scheduled. This was not normal. Richard Cole stepped forward, irritation flashing across his face as he demanded explanations from his staff. But before anyone could respond, a powerful voice echoed from loudspeakers mounted on the aircraft. The voice was firm, authoritative, carrying the weight of command and urgency. It called out a name clearly, repeatedly, asking for Daniel Hayes to present himself immediately. Time seemed to slow. Daniel froze near the edge of the hangar, disbelief washing over him. That name, spoken with such precision and respect, had not been called in decades. Co-workers stared at him, confusion spreading across their faces. Managers whispered. Richard's irritation turned into visible unease as he watched the mechanic he had just fired stand frozen under the roaring blades. Daniel stepped forward slowly, his heart pounding harder with every step. Memories surged uninvited. Saltwater. Steel decks. Night missions. Brotherhood. Loss. Promises made and kept in silence. He had left that life behind after an operation went wrong years ago, an operation that saved lives but cost him everything he loved in that world. He had sworn to disappear, to live quietly, to never draw attention again. The helicopter landed with precision. Navy officers emerged, their movements sharp and disciplined. One approached Daniel and saluted him without hesitation, without question. The gesture alone shifted the entire atmosphere. This was not a mistake. This was recognition. The officer presented documents confirming Daniel's identity and past service. Daniel Hayes was not just a mechanic. He was a former Navy Special Operations pilot and engineer, decorated for valor, credited with saving an entire crew during a classified mission that had since been declassified. He had disappeared from public record by choice, declining honors, declining interviews, declining promotions, choosing instead to return home to care for his dying wife and later raise his daughter alone. The Navy helicopter had arrived because one of Daniel's former missions had resurfaced during a recent investigation into aerospace safety. His unique expertise and first-hand experience were required immediately. The officer explained that Daniel's name had been flagged as essential, irreplaceable. They had searched for months to find him. Every word landed like a shockwave. Richard Cole stood speechless. The man he had dismissed as expendable was suddenly revealed to be extraordinary. Not just skilled, but honorable. Not just experienced, but proven under pressure most people could never imagine. The power dynamic shifted instantly, painfully. Daniel listened quietly, humility unchanged. He did not boast. He did not look back at Richard with satisfaction. His concern was simple, immediate. He asked about the urgency, about the safety of others, about how long the mission would take because he needed to arrange care for his daughter. Even now, his priority was not recognition, but responsibility. The officer assured him that everything would be handled, that support would be provided, that his family would be protected. The Navy had not forgotten him, even if the world had. As Daniel prepared to board the helicopter, Richard finally found his voice. He attempted to speak, to recover control, to offer apologies wrapped in corporate politeness. But his words felt small, hollow, exposed by the truth now standing in front of everyone. For the first time, Richard was forced to confront the cost of his leadership style. He saw clearly that numbers could not measure character, and authority could not replace humanity. Daniel turned once before boarding, not with anger, but with quiet dignity. His eyes met Richard's, and in that moment, there was no triumph, only a reflection of what happens when judgment replaces compassion. Then he boarded the helicopter, disappearing once more into service, not for recognition, but because lives depended on him. The helicopter lifted into the sky, leaving behind stunned silence and drifting dust. The hangar felt different now, heavier, humbler. Workers returned to their tasks with new awareness, new respect for the unseen stories carried by the people beside them. In the days that followed, the company faced scrutiny. Employees spoke up. Changes were made. Policies shifted. Richard Cole, shaken deeply, began to understand that leadership was not about power, but responsibility. He established programs to support workers, to listen before judging, to value people beyond productivity. Whether redemption was possible for him remained uncertain, but the seed had been planted. Daniel completed his mission successfully. He returned quietly, declining public attention once again. He went back to a simpler life, but this time, with stability ensured and his daughter's future secure. He continued to work with machines, continued to live humbly, but he carried the quiet knowledge that he mattered, that his sacrifices had meaning. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that every person carries a hidden history, take a moment now. Like the video, share it, and let others feel this message too. And before this story ends, leave a comment sharing whether you believe true character is revealed in moments of power or moments of humility. Because in the end, this was never just a story about a CEO or a helicopter. It was a reminder that kindness can change destinies, that judgment can blind us, and that the quietest people often carry the loudest legacies. If this story touched your heart even a little, please engage with it, so more hearts can be reached, and more lives reminded that no one is ever truly invisible.